Welcome to the second part of our video about 10 emotional stages women go through when you leave. If you haven't watched the first part yet, a link will appear on the pop-up card. In this video, we'll cover 5 more stages to help you recognize and navigate this challenging behavior. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated on new videos. The 6th stage involves the conflict between relief and regret. Initially, when you disappear, they may experience a fleeting sense of relief, convincing themselves they are finally free. I don't have to deal with them anymore. For a brief period, they might even feel good about this change. However, the reality is that this perceived freedom is merely an illusion. At first, it feels exhilarating. They go out, spend time with friends, swipe through dating apps, and keep themselves busy. For a moment, they believe they are okay. But then, when they find themselves alone, sitting in their quiet apartment, scrolling through their phone, staring at an empty inbox, that's when the truth hits hard. They begin to understand something troubling. The freedom they craved? It's actually a void. The people they thought could fill your role? They are just superficial distractions. It's akin to drinking salt water when thirsty. It seems like a quick solution, but ultimately, it leaves them more parched, desperate, and filled with regret. This is when regret starts to take hold. In a world dominated by casual dating and fleeting encounters, many assume moving on is straightforward. I'll just find someone new. Yet, replacing a genuine connection is far from easy. They soon realize that emotional stability, true depth, and meaningful conversations cannot be substituted with a one-night stand or a temporary distraction. This realization can be overwhelming. Here's what you should do. Allow them to experience this so-called freedom. Don't rush back when they begin to feel regret. Don't alleviate their pain. Don't provide them with an emotional safety net. Let them confront that emptiness they thought would be liberating. Because while the initial relief was short-lived, your absence will linger in ways they never anticipated. The 7th stage involves the urge to engage in the game. When regret sets in, panic ensues. They feel a loss of control and desperately want it back, but they're unsure how to regain it. So, what's their response? They begin to play games. They intentionally act aloof, share pictures with others, and try to project happiness without you, making their life appear more fulfilling than ever. They might post a vague status about moving on, or a selfie that seems overly staged. There could be subtle jabs aimed at you, though not overtly. It's all a strategy to invade your thoughts. They want you to question their actions, to wonder if they've truly moved on, and to feel a twinge of jealousy. However, here's the reality. You're no longer participating. You've matured beyond their juvenile tactics. As a result, you hardly notice their antics. Many fail to grasp this concept. They believe that jealousy, manipulation, and playing hard to get will always yield results. They think that if they dangle enough bait, you'll start pursuing them again. But what occurs when you stop chasing? When you've grown weary of the game? That's when their anxiety escalates. They bombard you with passive-aggressive remarks, exaggerated social media posts, and subtle provocations. Yet, none of it has any effect because you refuse to give them the attention they seek. You don't react or engage, and that drives them absolutely insane. Here's your strategy. Overlook the vague posts, ignore their photos, and don't play along. Their game only succeeds if you participate. The instant you stop responding is the moment they realize they've lost their influence over you. And that realization is what truly devastates them. The 8th stage is the crushing weight of silence. Silence can be one of the most formidable tools at your disposal when you choose to disappear. The lack of your words, messages, and presence resonates more profoundly than anything you could express. For them, it becomes intolerable. Initially, they may dismiss it, but soon the silence envelops them, and it becomes burdensome. This marks the beginning of their true anguish. Left alone with their thoughts, they start to question everything. Why didn't I pick up their calls? Why was I always too preoccupied to respond? Did I take them for granted? Now, they would do anything to hear from you again. Silence is agonizing for someone who thrives on control. They anticipate you reaching out. They expect you to inquire, "What's wrong?" They expect you to pursue them. But what occurs when you don't? What happens when you vanish entirely, leaving them in solitude, pondering if they've lost you for good? They struggle to comprehend it. Each moment without a word from you feels like an eternity. As the silence prolongs, their anxiety intensifies. We exist in a culture of instant responses. Texts, calls, alerts, social media. Everyone anticipates a reply, but you offer them nothing. And that's what shatters them. They are accustomed to the clamor of a relationship, the constant exchanges, even the disputes. But silence? Silence is overwhelming. Use your silence as your strength. Don't shatter it. Don't justify your actions. Don't provide them with closure. Allow them to linger in the stillness and confront the full impact of their choices. Because soon they will understand. Losing access to you is far more painful than any argument they could have ever won. The 9th stage is the fear that brings them crawling back. This is the moment everything falls apart. Fear. It's the unexpected twist they never anticipated. For a long time, they felt secure, assuming you would always be there. They took your presence for granted, convinced that you would never leave. But now, you're gone, and panic sets in. The fear is more intense than anything they've experienced. Questions begin to haunt them. What if I've lost them forever? What if they've moved on? What if they're with someone else? That thought, it devastates them. They envision you sharing laughter with someone new, creating memories with another person, and that image makes them feel nauseous. They abandon their pride. The bravado, the mind games, the false confidence, all of it vanishes. Now, their only focus is on winning you back, and that fear, it compels them to act in ways they once vowed they wouldn't. They'll reach out. They'll express regret. They'll plead. Perhaps they'll send lengthy messages detailing how they've finally come to understand your significance. Maybe they'll appear at your doorstep, yearning for another opportunity. Whatever actions they take stem from one driving force, the intense fear of losing you for good. But here's the reality. By the time they experience that fear, you've already moved on. You've discovered your strength. You've regained your independence. Most importantly, you no longer need them. Their fear is genuine, but it's too late. When they return, don't be swayed. Don't grant them another chance simply because they're scared. Allow them to confront the repercussions of their decisions. Let them realize that you were never someone to be taken lightly. Because now, they finally grasp what they've lost. If you've reached this point, congratulations. You're already ahead of the majority. You've shown that you embody true Stoicism, someone who values depth, wisdom, and insight. And that makes you invincible. The 10th stage is achieving emotional independence. This marks a significant turning point. When you choose to step away, you're not merely leaving them behind, you're moving towards your true self. You're embracing your freedom, gaining emotional clarity, and finding your peace. Many individuals lose their sense of self in relationships, dedicating so much effort to making their partner happy and proving their worth that they overlook a vital truth. Your happiness is solely your responsibility. You don't need to persuade anyone of your value or fight for a spot in their life. But when you decide to disappear, that's when everything becomes evident. You come to understand that their validation is unnecessary. You stop caring about their opinions, feelings, or desires, because now you recognize the truth. Your happiness was never dependent on them. This realization is incredibly empowering. The best part? They notice the change too. They recognize that you're not the same person they once knew. You've become stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. They can feel it. They realize you've outgrown them, and that realization frightens them. This is when the dynamics shift permanently. They remain trapped in their old habits, still seeking validation and playing the same games. But you've transformed. You've liberated yourself from the need for approval. Now, their opinions hold no weight. Embrace your emotional independence. Resist the urge to revert to old patterns. Don't allow them to believe they still control your happiness. Don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they can draw you back in. You've moved past that, and that's your greatest victory.